What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, yesterday we had 3 new members. We had Sherry Taylor, Army of Freaks, and we also had I Killed Jeff over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support, and what you're doing for me is just, you know, I say it every time, but you're just crazy. So thank you so much, and for everyone for coming here every day to support the channel. You know how much it means to me, guys, and you know, thank you. And with that being said, we got a spicy lineup, so let's get on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from On the Fence Pool Girl. Am I the arsehole for building the fence to keep out my neighbours? Oh, I love a neighbour domestic story. Obligatory throwaway accounts. Earlier this year, I, 26, got an inheritance from a family member, and it was a godsend. I finally got to move out and get my own place after living paycheck to paycheck. My dream place. I could never get a place like this without Providence or cutting my way through the corporate ladder with a machete. But the most important part is the pool. I love it. I'd swim every day if the weather let me. It's helped me get into great shape. The problem comes from the neighbours. Mark, oh god, fake name, and Kaylee, fake a name, but it's like that, and 3 kids. Brad, 16 male, Chad, 14 male, and Leah, 11 female. They started out friendly enough, especially Kaylee, who's dripping the housewife, yoga, PTA energy. She told me about a week after I moved in over a plate of cookies that the prior owners of the house were an older couple who let her kids use the pool whenever they wanted because their kids were out of the house and they didn't like quiet. I, on the other hand, love quiet. I'm introverted. I love my privacy. First thing I did when I moved in was put up curtains. I told her I was uncomfortable with that arrangement, but perhaps they could come over occasionally if they don't abuse the privilege. Cue the children abusing the privilege all summer. Every time I was out swimming, it would not be long before Chad and Brad would run over and jump in, followed by Leia with their floaties. And being teenage boys, they would always want to roughhouse, or gape at me or my friends when we get out the pool and make gross comments. This would be tolerable if it happened once a week. They even brought friends a couple of times, and more than a couple of times I've had to tell them they need to leave because I was with adults doing adult things, drinking, etc. So now I'm putting up a fence for 2 reasons. 1, I'm getting a dog. 2, I want my privacy. Kaylee ran out of the house when she saw me and a couple of friends hammering in the fence and digging holes for privacy hedges. I made sure everything was within regulation and right on the property line. She said if I put up a fence it'd be harder for her kids to come over and play. I said yep. She asked if I was planning on putting a gate between our yards. I said nope. Finally, she asked, a little choked up, if I was depriving her kids of our pool. Our pool! I told her how in the beginning I had said they could use the pool as long as they did not abuse the privilege, and they did. I said now they can only come over if invited. She told me they were going to be crushed and saw me as a big sister. I told her no teenage boy looks at their sister the way those boys looked at me and my friends. She took huge offense to that, and it might have been gross to hear, but so were the comments on my bikini from her boys. It's too much. I'm not their babysitter and I have every right to my privacy. But some people have been saying the fence is too much and I'm going to hurt the kids' feelings. Am I the arsehole? Now, I do love, as I said at the very start, I love these ones where like nightmare neighbours kind of thing. I think I've mentioned it in a previous video. I love watching that on TV. We've got a program over here in the UK called Nightmare Neighbours and I love watching that shit. But I can't see you being the arsehole in this story. I mean, as you said, they're abusing the privilege. You was kind enough to say, like, if you're respectful, you can come over and use the pool. But they wasn't, and they were perving over you too. I mean, come on, man. I can never get it into my head that people can just sort of claim other people's property like that. They can think, yeah, that's our pool. We're sharing that pool now. And even have the cheek when they first met you over a plate of cookies to say, oh, the old neighbours used to let us use the pool. Who does that? There's no way I'll be able to get myself to say that to someone else. Not the arsehole, but let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Franklin says, not the arsehole, not at all. In fact, however high you're planning on building this fence, make it a foot higher. Nebsy Websy says, not the arsehole, build it higher for that extra privacy. I'd install cameras too in case those kids try to come over without permission. Southern Gal says, not the arsehole, in fact, you're a saint for allowing them to come over as much as you have already. We have a pool and a fence and enjoy our privacy. There's no way I would let kids come swim in our pool unless I invited them. It's also a huge liability for you if something were to happen to one of those kids in your pool. Love being an arsehole says, not the arsehole. How did your homeowner's insurance not require a fence? Would not feel guilty at all, and have never understood neighbours that didn't have fences. Now, I turn it to you guys. How would you deal with the situation? First, if a neighbour came over to you and you had your pool and they said, oh, the old neighbours let us use let us use that pool. Can we use it too? Would you let them use it or not? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for refusing to hug my little sister because my girlfriend doesn't want me to? This might be a bit unusual. So for some background, I, 34 male, have 2 siblings, a brother 30 male and a little sister 23 female. For the purpose of this post, we'll call them Paul and Abby. When we were younger, our mum had this rule that every morning and before we went to bed, we should give each other a hug. I asked my mum about it when I got older, and she said her parents had a similar rule and she thought it made her siblings and her closer. Eventually, around the time I went to college, Paul and I stopped hugging every day because I found it pretty awkward. However, up until now, I would hug Abby, whenever we were together anyway. Paul does the same. Currently, all of us live together. Last night, my girlfriend, 35 female, was staying over and we were sitting on the couch. Abby said she was going to bed, so I gave her a hug. After she went inside, my girlfriend said that it was really weird and that I was babying Abby. She told me I shouldn't hug Abby anymore. This morning when Abby tried to hug me, I told her she shouldn't anymore because she's grown up and now it's kind of weird. Abby just said okay, then left. She didn't really talk to me for the rest of the day. It's been pretty awkward because all of us are home all the time since her school and our work is all online. Paul later came up to me and said I was being a dick. I told him it was my girlfriend who told me not to hug Abby, and he said that it was stupid, she was jealous of a kid, and that she was being creepy. I feel bad, but I don't want to make my girlfriend uncomfortable. Am I the arsehole? So am I right in thinking here that OP's girlfriend thinks there's some sort of sexual thing going on, that you're hugging your little sister and in that kind of way? It's just so bizarre. You know, myself, I have 3 brothers that are all older than me. I was a late child. My mum said I was a last chance at a girl. Rip. But I still hug my brothers now. I mean, I still hug my brothers. I still give them a kiss on the cheek when I see them. Love them to bits, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I love giving them a hug. It definitely brings us closer as brothers, and I absolutely love it. So I wouldn't change it, nor should OP. And you know, if the girlfriend's going to be like that, that's her fucking problem. But that's just my opinion, and you know, I might be totally wrong. You might think that's weird too, but you know, as I said, I don't really care. No offense, guys. Possibly a queen says, you're the arsehole. There is nothing wrong with hugging your sister. It's not babying your sister to give her a hug. That's a very normal thing to do. There's nothing weird about being affectionate with your family. I have many ideas for why your girlfriend would want you to stop hugging your sister, and none of them are good. Jumpy Comfort says, you're the arsehole for immediately going along with your girlfriend and hurting your sister's feelings. Your girlfriend is being really creepy that she's sexualizing and is jealous of a hug with your sister. People have different levels of affection between siblings and families. Yes, but it's weird she referred to it as babying her. Since when is hugging someone babying them? I'm concerned with the amount of affection she'd show your future children long term if she thinks a hug is too much affection. Also, shame on you for not questioning her and having a further conversation about it and standing up for something your family likes to do. Ask your girlfriend why it makes her uncomfortable and have a conversation with her as to your boundaries and expectations on being told on what to do out of weirdness and jealousy. There's a few reasons why she may think it's uncomfortable, and none of them are good. Go apologise to your sister, give her a hug and talk it out with your girlfriend and tell her to stop being weird. Careful Listen says, you're the arsehole, so your girlfriend is uncomfortable with you hugging your little sister and told you to stop hugging her. What's going on in her brain? Here's a preview of your life. She's going to say she's uncomfortable with you telling your family you love them next. Then say she's uncomfortable with you being around them and force you to move. Next year say she's uncomfortable with you communicating with them and cut them off completely. Boom. You're stuck in an unhappy relationship with no one to turn to because your girlfriend was uncomfortable with the healthy relationship you have with your siblings. And RB says, you're the arsehole, and guess what? Even if you try to fix it now, it will never be the same. Your girlfriend is awful, and you're worse because you should have shut her down instantly. Yeah, I couldn't imagine what would happen. If my brother turned down a hug from me, or a kiss on the cheek from me, I think I would be absolutely devastated. But yes, I can imagine how that sister feels. It's such a shame. What do you guys think of this story? Do you kiss your siblings? Do you show affection in that way, or are you totally against it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And just a little warning guys, this next story involves someone losing their son, so just a pre-warning there. This next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for giving my deceased son's college fund to his best friend instead of my nephew? This has been causing a conflict with my entire family, and they think I'm being selfish and unreasonable. Let me explain first. I, male 39, lost my son in 2019 due to a chronic heart condition. He was 15 years old. It was devastating and I just couldn't take it, especially when my family did little to nothing to support me during these difficult times. They didn't bring my son's meals when he was at the hospital, they didn't let me go home and rest even for a few hours, they didn't take care of other things while I had a lot to deal with, and I wasn't offered any help, just words. They'd just talk but do nothing. Despite the struggle, I've created an account for my son's college fund and kept putting whatever I could get at the time, and me and my son would talk about that a lot. He was depressed but always believed that he was going to get better and continue his education and attend college. I started saving money to keep him motivated and make him feel like he could be like any other kid with hopes for a good future. He had a very close friend that's about the same age as him. They were friends for 5 years, and I can't express how his presence in my son's life helped him through the worst days. Sometimes his friend would spend the night with us and just try to get my son to do activities and lighten up his mood all the time. To be frank, his friend was closer to him than his own family. He never stopped visiting and asking how I'm doing after my son's death. He'd showed me handmade projects he made for my son, and as a way to remember him, we'd sometimes just sit and talk together and cry together. Last week, while I was with my family, my sister asked me what I was going to do with my son's college money. I didn't want to mention this, but since she asked, I told her that I'll be giving the money to my son's friend. She barely even recognised his friend and was confused and said, my nephew deserves this money since he's family. My mum agreed that I wasn't thinking straight and that I should help the people close to me, family, and that my nephew has a right to go to college, and I was wrong for giving this opportunity away to someone else. I didn't know what to say. They kept pointing out I was making a mistake and how my nephew will resent me if he finds out. Thing is, my nephew wasn't close to my son. I don't even know why he'd be bothered. My sister went on about not being able to afford my nephew's college. I told her this was my decision and I felt more comfortable that way. She started lashing out, constantly texting me, constantly wanted to talk to me, and ended up arguing. When I snapped, she had my mum calling me, basically guilt tripping me and telling me I'm wrong and that I needed to think about this. It's just too much pressure and I'm feeling lost and unable to figure out how to deal with this. Whew, not gonna lie, I had to stop halfway through that story. I was freaking bawling. When he was talking about like his son talking about his future and, you know, getting better and going to college and his best friend turning up and trying to keep him motivated, man. Ooh, that one hurt. Am I missing out on something? Like, is there some sort of tradition where you pass down college funds? If the person passes away for whatever reason, then you have to give it to someone else rather than use it for your own well-being. Like, surely he could help pay his mortgage or something like that if he's got one, or just something to benefit himself. Because I'm just trying to understand the entitlement from this aunt to think that it should go directly to the nephew rather than where he wants it to go. And you're absolutely 100% not the arsehole in this situation. The friend was closer to your son than his actual family, so that just says it all really, doesn't it? Fair play to you for being a good dad and for being just a good person to your son's friend, and please carry on with what you're going to do. Just go with that because your family sounds so entitled. Sod that. Who Fears Death says, not the arsehole. Ask her what her plan was for her son's college if yours hadn't died, and tell her to do that. You aren't obligated to do anything whatsoever with that money that you don't want to do. OP replies saying, she says that I'm supposed to help since she's struggling. Neither her nor my brother-in-law are doing well financially. I'm not being bitter and getting back at them, as they say. Orange Julius Page says, and quotes, he never stopped visiting and asking how I'm doing after my son's death. He showed me handmade projects he made for my son as a way to remember him, and would sometimes just sit and talk together or cry together. Then says, God damn OP, what have I told you about chopping those onions while I'm trying to shitpost for karma? Not the arsehole. Whether this is a proper 529 plan or just some checking account that you toss money into. After the intended beneficiary passed away, there's nothing obligating you to pick the contingent beneficiary due to perceived familial obligation. Then quote, they kept pointing out that I was making a mistake and how my nephew will resent me if he finds out. Then says, your nephew would be better served resenting his parents for not having the discipline nor charisma to have thought ahead far enough to save money for his education. And Mandy says, not the arsehole, I'm struggling to see why your sister thought it was any of her business to ask what you were doing with the college money. It's your money and you can do whatever you want with it. And yes, your reasons for giving your son's friend are sound. He genuinely sounds like he deserves it. Now, what would you do in that situation if you had someone that passed away and you had saved money for that person? Then you had your rest of your family members going, well, what are you going to do with the money? I think that in itself is disgusting to bring it up. Who does that? Oh dear. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from TA Sorry Not Sorry. Am I the arsehole for not liking how my girlfriend dresses for work? So I, 43 male, don't think I'm in the wrong here, but my mother is very angry at me. My best friend said I was a horrible person for saying what I did, and I'd be lucky if my girlfriend didn't put me out with the garbage, since I decided I wanted to act like trash. My girlfriend, 34 female, is a preschool teacher, and for some reason I can't explain, she dresses like Miss Frizzle, like a dress with a pattern of whatever they are studying. She makes a lot of them herself, now including matching masks. The kids love it, and the parents seem to think it's great. I don't like the amount of attention she gets, honestly. I'd prefer if she came home and changed before running any errands. On Friday, she helped my mum with something after work, and she was still in her weird dress. I've told her before I don't like when she dresses that way, but she tells me I don't have to like it, but I have no right to tell her how to dress. I was upset she went out like that with my mother, and told her that my mum said she was embarrassed and to ask her that she please not dress like that again if they're going out. I was not expecting her to call my mum and apologise. When my mum asked what she meant, she told her what I said. My mum was furious, explained she doesn't have a problem with how my girlfriend dresses and think it's great she spends extra time doing these things to engage her students. My mum then yelled at me for lying to my girlfriend and trying to throw her under the bus because I was being an insecure jerk. My girlfriend and I got into a huge fight. I said she should be embarrassed to be seen in public like that. She said the only thing she was embarrassed by was me. She hasn't spoken to me or done anything for me since. My friend said I was horrible and called me trash. I shouldn't have lied, but I think my girlfriend should take what I think about her clothes into consideration, and I'm not sorry for expecting her to dress more appropriately in public. Am I really such an arsehole here? Now there's a tiny little update at the end of this one, but my word, people can't really be this dense. I'm only thinking, there's got to be a troll. There's no way someone could be this dense, right? But I had to read the story just in case, if this is a real person out there, and I'm sure there are people like this. So a teacher who's engaging her students, get them involved, and he even said himself, the children love it. And then he's against her for doing this. How ridiculous is that? I would have loved it back then when I was in school if a teacher was more engaging and doing stuff like that. How much more would it make school more exciting? I mean, come on, man. And then the fact that you lied to your mum to try and get your girlfriend to change her ways. Oh, I hope she is done with you. Wow, we're going to find out in a second. Let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Disregardable says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, I have no right to tell her how to dress, and says, yep. Then quotes, my mum yelled at me for lying to my girlfriend and trying to throw her under the bus because I was being an insecure jerk, and says, yep. And then quotes again saying, the only thing she was embarrassed by was me. And then quotes again saying, good for her, honestly. And then quotes again, I am not sorry. And says one more time, and that's why you got dumped. So you know where this is going. Funkativity says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, for some reason I can't explain. And says, here's the reason. The kids love it and the parents seem to think it's great. And quotes again, she hasn't spoken to me or done anything for me since. And says, oh, poor you. She hasn't done anything for you, but she's your property. Why isn't she attending her duties? Maybe it's because you lied to her, or because you're a controlling jerk. Knight of Knee says, bro, what? You're the arsehole. Mrs. Frizzle is a treasure. She is not to be disrespected. MM says, you're the arsehole. You don't understand why a preschool teacher would dress in bright, fun, educational outfits. This can't be real, can it? Festering Nose Olive says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, I don't like the amount of attention she gets, honestly. Translation, I'm insecure and don't like people looking at what I consider mine. Look, your mum and friend are right. You acted atrociously. You lied. You seem to think your opinion should hold more weight than her own. And when called out, you act like everyone else is being unreasonable. Why exactly do you think she should take your opinion on how she dresses into consideration? Do you take her opinion into consideration? Because it certainly doesn't sound like it. Now, here is the mini update. Edit. I'm sure you'll all be pleased to know we broke up tonight. She said I'm too controlling and narrow-minded, so she broke up with me. Good. Now, what do you guys think of this story? How would you act if you was like that teacher and your boyfriend or girlfriend was treating you that way? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you, hopefully if you enjoyed, in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.